Hi, I'm John from Origin Effects. I'm here at GearFest and I'm going to show you some of the things we've brought with us. If you are familiar with Origin, it's probably because of this pedal. This is the Kali 76 Compact Deluxe, and it is essentially a bang-on replica of an 1176 compressor in a pedal. It's what we built the brand on, and it's been available in a few different permutations, one of which is this guy next to it, which is two of the same circuit connected in series. So if the Compact Deluxe is a bit too subtle for you, you can have a look at the Stacked Edition, which is more kind of special effect compression, over-the-top sustain, really wacky stuff, and it can still be subtle if you need it to. Another thing that helped us make our name was this guy, the Revival Drive. We call it an analog amp recreation because it's more than just a drive pedal, it's a whole vintage valve amp circuit recreated in solid state in pedal form. You can change the circuit to emulate different kinds of classic valve amps, and there's a lot of really coveted tones lurking in it.
So I was going to ask you, is it modelled on a specific amp or just kind of a range of specific classic amps?
Well, quite conveniently, a lot of the kind of classic non-master volume valve amps that we all like are actually quite closely related to each other. So it's kind of the big high-powered sort of big bottle stuff. So Marshall Plexi, Fender Twin, but as you start to adjust some of the controls, you can get closer to Vox territory and some of the sort of tweed tones as well. I won't go into all the details of what's going on, but you can mess with negative feedback and different bits of frequency response and things like that and capture a lot of different tones within the same pedal. And with the post-drive EQ as well, it's designed to integrate with a direct system and cabinet simulation as we're running here, but also to work really well into the front end of a typical valve amp.
So are there kind of recipes on the website so you can kind of set it up to emulate certain styles, for example?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some of what we've done here is a bit out there compared to typical pedals, so we like to try and give as much support as we can. There's lots of tutorials, we write technical articles, and every pedal comes with a getting started guide, which you can see here, which kind of tells you what you've bought, the best way to start using it, some sample settings, a bit of an insight into what the more unusual controls are and just how to get going with them, really. The analog amp recreation stuff has been continued over here as well, so as well as the Revival Drive and its hot-rodded counterpart, we've got some recreations of classic vintage combos with built-in modulation. So there's the Deluxe 61, which is based on a Fender Brown Deluxe with its inimitable bias tremolo, which has got to be played as much as heard to be believed. And next to it, the Magma 57, which is our tribute to the Magnatone 200 series amps with their quite unique pitch-shifting vibrato. I've got these all hooked up with the help of this loop switcher and just some cabinet simulation and delay and reverb hosted in an HX Stomp. So
okay, well let's hear a bit then.
Let's check it out. What we're going to hear first is a bit of the Revival Drive Compact with some Compact Deluxe added for some quite subtle compression. Flip over to the RD Compact Hot Rod, which is the higher gain, more aggressive version of the same pedal circuit. Now we're here in a Deluxe 61, and I've just swapped our speaker emulation to a more vintage appropriate one as well. Here's that bias tremolo I was talking about. This is the Magma 57's pitch shifting vibrato. If you haven't heard of the amp, I bet you have heard this sound. Apologies to anybody who does know all these products already. So for something you might not have seen, let's move over here to the bass rig pedalboard. The bass rig pedals essentially take the same analog amp recreation circuitry and apply it to classic bass amps. So on the left here we have the Super Vintage, and that's modelled after the Ampeg SVT. It's got everything that makes that amp great, the kind of grinding top end, the mid-range that's hugely versatile and can get very warm or very savage depending on what you do with it, and a balanced output that features an analog 8x10 cabinet simulation that is just as important part of the real amp as the amplifier itself. And if the SVT is not your thing, we kind of have the other flavour of bass amplification as well, which is the 64 black panel. That's based on a mixture of mid-60s high-powered Fender amps, so it's the Showman and the Bassman. And before the kind of purpose-built bass amp that is the SVT, this is what professional players in the 60s would have been using, and it has that really warm, clonky, sort of soulful sound. So with the help of the bass version of the Cali 76, the compact bass, let's just have a listen to how these two sound. Super Vintage. By contrast, let's get into some of the tones from the 64 black panel. That's the kind of brighter, tighter Showman sound. If we just flip this switch down to the fat position, that gives us the configuration of a Bassman, which lets a lot more low end through, and it can get really kind of squishy and cool.
great.
Well, I'm glad you think so. That's it from us at Origin at GearFest, but stay tuned for more.
So when are they going to be shipping, or are they shipping now?
Everything here is available now.
Including these? Yep.
Yeah. Get in touch with your Origin dealer and they'll tell you everything you need to know.
And we've got kind of rough pricing information?
The compressors start at $299. The revival drive and the other amp recreation stuff starts at $335, and the bass rigs are in at $399.
Brilliant. Thanks very much indeed.
Well, thanks for talking to me.